got this. Now, Club, get your shit together.
I was gonna say, she definitely just needs more confidence in herself.
No. She's like, I can't do this. Like, literally kick it out of class.
Dang.
But I was like, yeah, I'll be fine.
It's a cool first name, Echo.
Oh, thank you. I chose it, so.
Love it. Okay.
I like your ring.
We're good?
Oh, thank you.
Hey, it's Jordan. We are here in front of Winter Park High School in Orlando. It is hot, and I am white and pasty, so hopefully this goes well. We've been doing reporting for the last 2 days. Started out in Tampa and St. Petersburg, which is about an hour and a half from here. Interviewed Michelle Rayner, who is running for Congress. She's the first openly gay woman of color in Florida's House of Representatives. We also interviewed a mix of parents and students last night, and we just came from an interview with Maxwell Alejandro Frost, who is running for Congress here on the affordable housing crisis here in Orlando and all of Florida. But I'm happy to be here in front of the high school. We're with students, LGBTQ, that are under direct threat from this bill that they're calling, a parental rights type of thing, but in reality is really just an effort to put a gag order on any discussion of sexual identity, LGBTQ, same-sex parents. That's why they're calling it the Don't Say Gay bill. I'm joined by Echo, Will, and Elena. And you guys are all students here. And I know Will has even written a piece for the New York Times on how this will affect students here. Let's start just kind of a little bit about yourself, whatever you want to share about some of the things you have dealt with before this bill in terms of becoming more comfortable with yourself, acceptance, possible bullying that you all have experienced. If you could talk about that.
I can start. I have dealt with a lot of different struggles from different areas in regards to being queer. I mean, growing up, I knew that I was different, and I felt more comfortable expressing myself in an androgynous and more feminine way, and that was clear from like kindergarten. And I never really knew why, and because no one ever explained it to me until 7th grade, I had this idea as a child that I was broken. And I've been working the past 5 years to unlearn that, but during that time, and during not just when I was a kid, but to now, I've dealt with severe bullying for my sexuality and for how I express myself. In October of 2021 even, I went to a Halloween party and I had guys surround me and call me slurs, physically threaten me, but that's not even the first time that situations like that have happened. I've been followed home, I've been called slurs in the hallways at school, I've had so many attacks on social media. It's just been a fact of life for me since I was a little kid, getting bullied for how I express myself. So seeing the Don't Say Gay bill pass through the House and Senate has been horrifying.
And it sounds like you've had physical safety issues and threats too.
100%. On a side note, I know Michelle Rayner and Maxwell Frost personally, and they're amazing. And I love that you interviewed them.
Yeah, they're great. What about you, Echo? What's been your journey?
So, when I was younger, I wasn't sure why everyone acted a certain way when, girls were told to act a certain way and guys apparently were a lot different and treated a lot differently. I saw, even because I have older brothers, they were treated a lot differently than I was, and I didn't really understand it at the time, and I kind of still don't, because I just wanted to be like my brothers. I wanted to just exist and not always deal with, oh, well, you're a girl, you can't do that. That wasn't something that I enjoyed dealing with. It wasn't something that I was okay with dealing with either. But my main struggle has been family. There have been a lot of things with school, where kids will say things. Misgendering is an almost daily thing. But it's mainly just I am currently considered homeless. I am living with a friend currently, and it was not the whole reason, but a lot of the issues that are the reason why I am now not living with any form of family has to do with the way that I was treated after I came out to my parents. It started with, I said that I was pansexual, and a lot of things of just, well, no, now you can't be around your friends anymore outside of school. And it was a lot of forced isolation. And as soon as I said that I didn't think I was a girl, it was, well, now just don't talk to us. You're not that, you're confused, all these different things. And it was just really tough trying to figure out who I was when everyone was telling me that it was wrong. So.
Right. And also, one part of the bill would actually make it so teachers have to alert parents about, if students are bringing up these feelings. And a lot of students don't want to tell their parents for the exact reasons you're talking about.
And the worst part of that was that I was outed. The worst part was that I was outed to my parents about being non-binary. I wasn't the one who told them. It was actually a friend of mine, or self-acclaimed friend of mine, who thought that it was a good idea, thought that I just needed to be more confident in myself, that I needed to just go for it, when that's not the case, when a lot of the people around you have such a stigma against you that if you do tell them there are serious health issues, like medical safety issues that you can deal with, there's any number of things that can go wrong with telling someone, especially when that person is the one making sure that you are healthy, making sure that you're fed, making sure that you have a roof over your head. It's not easy.
And that really also goes to show, a lot of those in support of House Bill 1557 have been pushing this idea that parents know what's best. It was said on the House floor, it was said on the Senate floor, representatives of Ron DeSantis have said it online, and this is just proof that parents don't know what's best for their kids, especially when it comes to the queer community. And of course parents should have certain rights when it comes to education, but their rights shouldn't endanger students, which is exactly what this bill is doing.
And also, parents have the option to homeschool their students if they want.
Yeah.
So this idea of parental power that's spreading mostly by Republicans, parents should know what's being taught, but that's different than controlling what's being taught. And this bill basically deputizes parents to be judge, jury, and executioner, because if you share stories, if somebody shares stories about their same-sex parents or discusses anything, and the bill is so vague that we don't even know what you can and cannot discuss, then Johnny's mommy could sue the school. So it really is beyond a slippery slope.
And it's not even it doesn't even go through a regular court system. It goes to a special magistrate appointed by the Commissioner of Education, who's appointed by Ron DeSantis. It's a bias situation that fast tracks the judicial process and makes it just, it's not justice, it's not fair, and it's so horrifying.
And the amount of petitions that I've seen being done, and nobody even thinks maybe that the community is, not a threat to society, and people are petitioning in our favor, and nobody looks at it, nobody talks about that, because of the fact that they want to push this narrative of that we are these monsters. Or
it's literally writing into law a decades-old stereotype that queer people are somehow the same as pedophiles, or the same as groomers.
We are inherently sexual. Apparently.
Inherently sexual, inherently perverse. Exactly. Ron DeSantis' own, I don't remember the title, but person, press secretary, yeah, that's right, went on Twitter and said it's an anti-grooming bill. And that is such a blatantly obvious dog whistle to legally enforce this stereotype that has put queer people in danger, that has gotten us killed. That is the reason we have, higher homicide rates, right? So they are putting us in danger, and they know what they're doing, and they say, oh, you're not a parent, like, who are you to judge? And I'm saying, well, I'm a student. I'm the one who would be affected by this. I was at the age that this really would have affected me not that long ago. So...
And we should point out, the critics say, the supporters say it's only for grades K through 3. Well, if you read the bill, it could be basically, it could be subject to any grade based on
through 12 in any manner deemed inappropriate.
Yes.
That's the wording of the. And the thing is,
Who deems what's inappropriate?
Exactly, and I've gotten so many comments on social media recently saying, oh, well, we don't want to teach sex to 1st through 3rd graders. And there's already Florida statutes in place to make sure that sex ed is taught at the proper ages. So that's not even an issue. It was a non-issue that they're solving. They made up a problem to harm the queer community. It's not like there was,
Tell us about your story, Elena.
Yeah, I sadly went through middle school in Texas. So, my
cameraman here is from Texas, so he has your pain.
I didn't realize I was trans until somewhat recently, and I think a big part of that was the first time I ever really heard of being trans was when the bathroom bill in Texas was being discussed, and a lot of people were talking about trans people, like you were saying, like sexual deviants, like they are going into bathrooms, and they're specifically targeting trans women, that just saying that they're going in to be pedophiles and to sexually assault people. And so growing up with that, it actually took so long for me to realize, and even once I realized, to become comfortable with who I was. And so I'm lucky enough to have semi-supportive adults in my life, but I still constantly hear like, oh, you were turned trans, like, like your identity is the result of outside influences, and you need to hide that as if it isn't just an inherent part of who I am, and I shouldn't have to pander to bigots just so they feel more comfortable.
Right. And I'd also like to ask all of you, honestly, I was miserable in high school, separate from this. I had depression issues, didn't really feel like I had a solid group of friends. There's all sorts of issues just being a middle school, high school student. Then you're talking about elementary school. Then you throw on top of it this pandemic, out of school, remote learning, then in school, but the pandemic. So I have to imagine, just separate from the inherent obstacles you face as LGBTQ, you already have other obstacles just being a teenager.
Oh, 100%. School's been so rough. This year, I don't even know I surround myself mostly with queer people, and like everyone I know is suicidal. I'm on antidepressants. Everyone I know has, like, it's
I have
terrible.
a bag of medication.
Yeah, exactly. Every single person is either on antidepressants or like extremely suicidal, and that's where we're at right now. And so, like you said, coupling the pandemic and queerness, and then just being
Mental
a teenager,
health,
being
dealing
forced to wake up at 5 and 6 in the morning to get to school at 7, all of it puts you in
The pressure of being a senior as well. It's
Exactly.
our last year in high school.
I'm a junior, so can't really.
Yeah, well,
It's-
we're in high school, so the pressure just increases as you get older.
Yeah.
It's no longer you have time, it's you need to do this now.
And also a big thing is I feel like during the pandemic, a lot of people had the time and were able to look into who they were as a person, and that's when a lot of people were able to figure out that they were part of the LGBTQ community. And one of the things that I've heard a lot is that there's this epidemic of queer people coming around, and it just being.
I've not heard that phrase.
I have.
Oh, I consistently.
times.
Seriously?
And
Jesus.
the
So
fact
So people saying that basically kids just having too much time and being bored during COVID made them.
it's like a trend.
Yeah,
Okay.
they think that
basically.
it's
Like they were
fun.
bored.
They think that it's, they think that we're doing this for attention or because we want to be like everyone else, but
Yeah.
they don't realize how much we're being persecuted. Why would we want to be something that's going to be gone after by everyone around us?
People think that somehow people think that being queer is a new thing. But that's only because we've been relatively mainstream accepted recently. But it's not a new thing. It's been here forever at the same rates. We just had to hide it. So this bill is just, it's one of many anti-LGBTQ bills currently in legislation, but I think there is this false idea that if we sort of force people back into the closet and make it harder again, that it will reduce how many people are queer, but it won't. It'll just increase suicide rates and it'll increase homelessness rates. And
I'm glad you bring that up.
And
I'm glad you bring that up because it also is a life or death matter. The Trevor Project has statistics that for LGBTQ students that are able to learn about it, talk about it at school.
they're 23% less likely to,
The suicide rate is 23% lower. So now, if you have students, teachers twisting themselves into pretzels, the anxiety of knowing what you cannot talk about, is your teacher going to be sued? Are you going to get in trouble? You're already talking about a lot. Most of the LGBTQ people are suicidal.
including myself. Like, I'm on antidepressants now, so I'm okay. But after it was thing after thing. I mentioned the party, but then the next day, while I was trick-or-treating with my friends, we had 3 separate people call us slurs while we were just walking. Then the next day, I was in the bathroom, and people came up to me and were like, "Be careful, we're homophobic." It was just 3 days in a row, and that was just 3 things from the entire school year. It's a regular thing. I could go on for hours with stories of small, times where I was put in uncomfortable situations or people were homophobic or rude or whatever. And Florida already has the highest LGBTQ suicide rate of any state. And queer teens are 4 times more likely to commit suicide. And they know that because I said that and I was one of hundreds that said that, testifying in the Senate and the House of Representatives. I went door to door talking to senators and representatives, Republican and Democrat, telling them these statistics and telling them personal stories. They heard me, they listened, and they voted for it anyways because they know what they're doing and they are trying to kill us. And
Because we
no
don't
one
fit
will
their
say
standards.
it. Exactly, and no one will say it, but that's what they're trying to do.
So you think
I think it's intentional. They know all the statistics. They know all the personal stories. If you watch I testified in the Appropriations Committee in the Senate. For every one person testifying in support, there were 4 testifying against. People testifying against used facts, statistics. There were experts. Leaders of suicide hotlines came in and all sorts of things. And then the people on the other side were using the Bible as examples. And we have a separation of church and state. It's written into the Constitution. That isn't a valid reason to pass a... It's so complex and deep, but I truly believe they are doing it on purpose. That they are trying to hurt us on purpose. Because it's not like they're unaware. It's not like they're oblivious. I told Senator Baxley, who sponsored this bill, to his face these statistics and how this bill would directly affect me, and 10 minutes later voted it regardless.
And do you have concern that if the governor signs this, and
He said he would.
seems like he will, this is just stage 1, what comes next after this?
Oh, 100%. This is the second parental rights and education bill.
Yeah.
This is not the only bill hurting the queer community. I mean, House Bill 1467, which is the book banning bill,
Yeah.
and House Bill 7, which affects a multitude of marginalized communities when it comes to education. And this passing, right after the Don't Say Gay bill passed in Florida, it was a similar bill was filed in Georgia, and a similar bill was filed in Iowa, and a similar bill was filed in Texas. It set a precedent. So not only is this the beginning in Florida, but it's the beginning in the entire country, and it's really scary.
It's not ending anytime soon.
Yeah, and
I mean, already if you talk to someone about, you know, your personal stories, it's, well, you have no right to be upset. You're just a gay person. You know, you're one person. You're a kid, or I'm not even a kid. I'm legal, but it's, you know, well, you should know better then. You're old enough to know that these kids shouldn't be learning this. Why not?
But
my identity isn't.
But also,
inherently
that's the
sexual.
thing. What exactly is being taught that's so concerning? It's not like
It's not
like
happening.
kindergarten to third graders are learning about sex or orgies or anything like
they're
that.
not. They're not. And nobody's pushing for that. And we should be learning about sexual orientation in the queer community in those grades. And they say, oh, they don't need to be teaching that stuff. That stuff is my community. That stuff is my identity. We learned about the Holocaust in third grade. We learned about the harsh conditions of enslaved people in third grade. Granted, not as well as it should be taught, but it was taught. So why aren't we learning about Stonewall? And why aren't we learning about, you know, the Violet Scare? And why aren't we learning about the existence of the queer community? If I'd known that being queer existed, that would have saved me years of suffering. Just knowing that it was real. And they are outlawing that. And it's so disturbing.
Yeah, and it's not only just to, like, how it affects ourselves, it's also spreading a broader band of support. I mean, just, I can imagine just if I was in elementary school again and then hearing that some people have two moms, some people have two dads, some people, like, maybe explaining the basis, like the tiniest bit of gender, you know, just explaining, hey, some people have a different sense of self than what their body is. You know, that's all we're asking for. And yet they think we want to teach them about comprehensive sex education for LGBTQ people.
But they don't think that. Like, they know that that's not happening. Like,
But they still push it off as though we are.
because they want to frame queer people as pedophiles and as groomers because they want to hurt us. It is a direct attack. That's what this is. There's no, oh, misinformed, uneducated. No, they know what they're doing and they're doing it anyways, and it's disgusting.
Let me ask you also, because you mentioned, unfortunately, you're houseless right now because of your, relationship with your family. In Florida, there's a lot of LGBTQ people that are homeless, and that's tough enough. And now this. Can you kind of talk about the homeless epidemic among LGBTQ people?
So I was actually for a while living in a homeless shelter. I'm not allowed to give the name due to confidentiality reasons and the safety of the people who are currently living there. But the amount of people who were living there, 95% of them were LGBT of some degree, of some form. And these people, most of them were kicked out of their houses. Some of them were assaulted physically, sexually, and just the abuse that they saw daily. My story seems very, very tame compared to a lot of theirs. And a lot of them dealt with so much harassment throughout the years, and and some of them either left willingly because they thought that it was easier on the streets than where they were living, or they would have a better chance of survival there, and some of them were just kicked out of their houses way before, the legal age to be moving out. And the way that these parents will manipulate the story of, well, they were doing this, this, and this, well, that, if they were not in the LGBT community, would that have been okay for you to do? You wouldn't have condemned anyone else doing that to their kids if the kid was, straight, if the kid was cisgender. It's, if we don't fit what they want us to be, then we're no longer something that they want to have around, that they need to have around. that they're okay with having around even. And that makes a lot of us feel more expendable. And why are we going to continue, dealing with this issue of, trying to be accepted by these people when all we've ever known is the unimaginable horrors of people telling us, oh, well, you're gay, go die, there's no reason for you to be here,
And that's like a direct quote I've been told. Like,
yeah.
Oh.
Same.
Now let me ask you, I know you got to go soon, so I'll be
Yeah.
quick. Let me ask you, you have all these corporations that put the LGBTQ flag in their windows.
Oh.
Disney, Comcast,
Yeah.
AT&T, but they give a ton of money to the sponsors of this bill, and Disney, they basically were forced to react to this.
Disney is a particularly upsetting one, but Pride capitalism as a whole is so disturbing. Pride was a protest. It was a beg for liberation. And these companies will show up at Pride events with their little booths and little like Pride merchandise with their logo on it, and like Disney will make however much money selling LGBTQ merchandise products, and then donate to these anti-LGBTQ politicians and not pull their weight and make a difference when they need to, and will take out the only like same-sex kiss in countries where it's not accepted. They don't care about us. They use us as a way to make money. We're just another avenue of profit for them. Disney didn't say anything until it started looking bad for them. But they could have gotten this bill had they said something weeks ago. This wouldn't have passed. The amount of money they give, it would not have passed. But they didn't do it because at the time it didn't seem beneficial to them, and it is awful. But it just shows like a larger issue, of corporations doing whatever they want to make money and not really holding any values. That one makes me so particularly mad.
Yeah, it's the feeling of performatism that I feel like gives a lot of bigots and homophobes like the confidence to tell people, like to tell queer people to their face, this is just a phase, like now that it's all accepted, you're allowed to do this, but it's not. You're still not safe
Rainbow
in
Twitter
corporations.
profile picture 1 month a
Exactly.
year. How dare you?
Yeah, like I have gone to places where I feel completely unsafe at work, and even though I see like federal posters saying that we must treat everyone fairly, I know that doesn't happen in the workplace, and I'm lucky enough to have found a new job that will accept me for who I am. But there are hundreds of thousands, even millions of queer people who don't have that. And so it's just the gall of these corporations.
Yeah. Actions speak louder than words.
Exactly.
And even at the school, we have a very old little metal sign on the building over there that says, bullying of any kind is not tolerated. And yet, staff members, teachers, administration will watch us get told these things, and some will even say it themselves. And nothing happens. We can report it all we want. We can write as many incident reports as we want, but it's just not noticed or cared about.
I can't speak badly about the staff as a whole, but I will say that I have walked into administrators' rooms where they have a little "everyone is accepted here" rainbow flag on their door, reported homophobia, and then had absolutely nothing done. And not only that, I've had situations where actually, there was one where I reported a group of guys being homophobic to me, and the administrator not only did they not get in trouble, but he told them, and my friend overheard this and then told me, he told them, stay away from Will Larkins, he's nothing but trouble. They've called, after the Halloween incident, I posted it on Instagram, and it went like viral within the Winter Park community. On Escalante reposted it. It was that sort of, and the administration called my parents and they said, like your son is like putting these kids in danger, by posting their names on social media, and I was like, they almost beat me up. They called me slurs, and they told me to go fuck kids and fuck animals, and told me I'm going to hell. So how dare you? And they knew that. It's upsetting, and it's gotten better. You know, a lot of it is just miseducation, but
not to the degree
yeah,
of,
it is true performative, which is why, you know, I mean, I'm the president of the Queer Student Union. We have a meeting literally right now.
Yep.
we're probably late.
And the reason that it was created was because the administration was not doing enough to stand up for the LGBTQ community, and we needed
Someone
a
has
student
to do
group
it.
to do it. Yeah, exactly, a union.
Last question. You know, to me, you guys are under threat,
Oh,
but you're
100%.
also kind of being used as guinea pigs, where to distract from an affordable housing crisis, to distract from gas prices, to distract
Yeah.
from healthcare crisis.
There's
there
so
are
many
there
real
are,
issues.
There are real issues, not just in Florida, everywhere. In my view, we live in a new Gilded Age. Good luck if you're not making a lot of money to afford
Yeah.
rent. People used to move to Florida for lower taxes, more
Yeah.
affordable living. That's out the window. Can you kind of talk about, do you feel like they are weaponizing this against you to distract from the real issues going on?
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I don't know if you saw, DeSantis just signed a proclamation that some swimmer was like the best swimmer or whatever. They're using these homophobic, racist, anti-immigrant, anti-woman dog whistles, trying to solve problems that weren't there in the first place.
Yeah.
They spent so much time, attention, energy in legislation in the session this session, focusing on non-issues instead of pulling their weight and making Florida better for us.
And when we, speak up about things, it's automatically somebody from either some different type of point of view. A lot of times it'll be a church or some person who is an extremist of some sort who goes after us at that point saying all these things, and then it gets a lot bigger than it was originally supposed to be, and it was originally intended to be by us or even maybe that other person. That at that point, our whole issue, everything surrounding us is also, they're using that to mask other things and try and slip by with other things going on, because our identities are apparently so controversial that it takes away from every other issue that other people are facing, and now people are hating us even more because our issues are getting so much attention that now they have another reason to hate our community because, they can be spending money and time looking at other things that could help us, but we also exist, and
And
we
you didn't
just want
ask-
to exist. Yeah, we didn't ask to be put in this type of pivotal situation, and we don't want to be in history books. We just want to exist.
Yeah, like we don't want to have like another Stonewall or something that should be taught at least in history. Which, side note, I asked my history teacher if we were going to learn about Stonewall since we're in the late 60s unit, and she didn't know what it was. Today. Anyways, yeah.
I just want to add one more thing on that question. I think the focus on these identity politics brings both light to how malicious the Republican Party is and how they're so focused on keeping things the way they are, but also a lack of mobility in the Democratic Party. I mean, I want us to all be supportive. I want housing. I want like affordable rent. I want affordable health care. All these things, and I see a constant sad theme that there are these huge like the BLM movement, like there's these huge like supportive movements that are really important, but then they die within a year, and so it's just the election cycles happen and we have like Joe Biden in office, and so with how much power can we fight with that man in office? And I think it's both an importance in seeing that these bills are stopping progress. We need to elect people in office who truly represent us and
Yeah.
who will fight for us.
Well, I think you nailed it, because if you have a Republican Party that's viewed as fighting and exciting their base, even though they're fighting for terrible things, and you have a Democratic Party where there's only a couple progressives within that party
Yeah.
fighting for affordable housing, while the rest of the party is taking money from Disney and real estate developers and basically corrupt. Yeah, people are just going to vote for the Republicans, and there's a lot of people that will just sit it out because they're like, yeah, I know the Republicans are bad, but
yeah.
what are the Democrats doing to help my life?
The Democrats and the Republicans aren't even that different when it comes to like the political spectrum, like as a whole.
Yeah.
And Republicans are going farther and farther right, and Democrats are saying, oh, well, we should become more centered to appeal to them. No, you should go farther left, and we need to mobilize,
to
and we need
balance
to,
it out.
yeah, exactly. We need to get people energized. We need to get people involved. They have created such an intense, frightening base of people, and we need to be able to counter that with the same energy,
Maybe
except
not frightening, but
not frightening and not
more-
dangerous,
Yeah.
but and not cult-like,
independent though. Yeah, no.
but
you don't
more
need-
more action-based instead of old and useless.
Thank you, Echo, Will, Elena, students here at Winter Park High School. President of the Queer Student Union, Will is.
President of Prisms, also. Right
Okay.
here.
And thanks for talking. I know, the media here has covered it, but I wanted to give you guys as much
Yeah.
time as possible.
Thank you for having
to
us.
talk
Thank
about
you
this.
so Thank you
so
we'll
much.
stay in touch. Thanks. And I'll be live again at 5:00 with State Rep Carlos Smith, who's also LGBTQ. He's got a lot of things to say about these issues,
awesome.
but also the affordable housing crisis, corruption, as well as what Governor DeSantis is trying to do in terms of basically set up a White House run off the backs of LGBTQ people and other groups like this. So we'll be talking to him live at 5:00 Eastern. Please support this reporting, statuscoup.com/Florida trip. statuscoup.com/Florida trip. You could donate and become a member to Status Coup. It's not cheap to travel around the country. So that's statuscoup.com/Florida trip. And you could also become a Status Coup member, as you know. statuscoup.com/join. Support us so we can give the microphone to the people and cover these important stories.
Thank you for having us,
Have a
Jordan.
good night.
Absolutely.